He's joining us this morning. Mr. Trump, good morning.
Good morning.
I know on Saturday night, saw you on TV, you said a bomb went off in New York. We don't know much about what's happened. We've gathered a few more facts. Your observation about what's going on in the Big Apple?
Well, it's a mess, and it's a shame, and we're going to have to be very tough. I think maybe we're going to be seeing a big change over the last couple of days. I think this is something that maybe will will happen perhaps more and more all over the country.
What do you mean, more terror strikes?
Yeah, because we've been weak. Our country has been weak. We're letting people in by the thousands and tens of thousands. I've been saying you got to stop it. You got to. I mean, just last week, Obama said more than 100,000 people are going to come in from Syria. He's letting more people in. 100,000. Hillary Clinton wants to increase what he's let in. He's let in thousands and thousands of people. They don't know. They can't be properly vetted. There's no way. I spoke to law enforcement, the best people in law enforcement. They say there is no way of vetting these people. So he let in over 100,000 additional people, and now Hillary Clinton is raising it by 550%. And this has been going on for a long time. Thousands of people are pouring into our country. We have no idea what we're doing. Our leaders are, I don't even say weak, I say stupid.
Well, Hillary and Tim Kaine said that ISIS strikes on our cities means we're winning abroad.
Yeah, I guess that's the way they figure things. You know, they figure things. If we would have taken them out, then we wouldn't have it. I mean, they're very strong. They're in 28 countries right now. These were started by Hillary Clinton and her policies and Obama. When they got out of Iraq, this is what happened. This is the remnant of it, and it's much more than a remnant. Hey, look, they started in a small area. Now they're in 28 countries, and I listened to Obama say, well, we're winning the war. We're not winning the war. They're winning the war.
You said over the weekend, too, it was time to get tough as you got off your plane. It's time to get tough. Just so you know, those bombs were full of ball bearings, and they were full of shrapnel.
BBs.
And BBs,
right.
and that was going to be maximum carnage. We had 29 people hurt. I'm sure just because they got out of the hospital doesn't mean they're okay. So what do you mean by we have to get tough? Specifically, Donald Trump, what is the policy in Donald Trump's administration to getting tough?
Well, first of all, these are sick people, okay? These are sick, evil people that want to destroy this country. And the way we coddle them and the way we're afraid to say anything, and we're afraid to say what the problem is and who they are, and they don't want to say radical Islam. They don't want to talk about radical Islamic terrorism. Obama won't even say the words, neither will Hillary Clinton.
But those are just words. What do you mean by getting tough? What do you mean by getting tough, though?
We're going to have to hit them much harder over there, and we're going to have to find out. You know, our police are amazing. Our local police, they know who a lot of these people are. They're afraid to do anything about it because they don't want to be accused of profiling, and they don't want to be accused of all sorts of things. You know, in Israel, they profile. They've done an unbelievable job, as good as you can do.
Sure.
But Israel has done an unbelievable job, and they'll profile. They profile. They see somebody that's suspicious, they will profile. They will take that person in. They'll check out, do we have a choice? Look what's going on. Do we really have a choice? We're trying to be so politically correct in our country. Mm-hmm. And this is only going to get worse. This isn't going to get better. And I've been talking to you guys for years.
You have.
And I've been saying it. This is only going to get worse. And what I said is you have to stop them from coming into the country.
And, of course, that's that's one of the primary tenets of your entire campaign about immigration into the country.
It has been. This isn't just something that I developed overnight because of this. I knew this was going to happen.
You've been talking about it for a very long time. You were busy. You were tweeting over the weekend. Last night you sent this out. Under the leadership of Obama and Clinton, your tweet reads, Americans have experienced more attacks at home than victories abroad. Time to change the playbook. Okay, change the playbook. How?
Well, we're going to have to do something extremely tough over there, okay?
Like what?
Over there, like knock the hell out of them. And we have to get everybody together, and we have to lead for a change because we're not knocking them. We're hitting them every once in a while. We're hitting them in certain places. We're being very gentle about it. We're going to have to be very tough, and you have other countries over there that are getting devastated far more than we are, and you have to get them together. It's called leadership, and they have to fight. You know, they have to fight the battle. The battle's over there, and we have to fight the battle. And we can't let any more people come into this country. And when we have bad ones, you know, we have people going over fighting for ISIS and coming back, and we know they're fighting for ISIS, and we take them.
Right.
Once you leave this country, you fight for ISIS, you never come
back. But the problem is Hillary Clinton has already ruled out ever putting troops on the ground, yet we don't get any intelligence, we don't arrest anybody, we shoot people from drones and from planes. Would Donald Trump put people on the ground if necessary?
Well, let me just tell you, the fact that she even said that is a terrible thing, because when you say that, you are giving the enemy, heart. You're saying to the enemy, we're not going to do it. Even if you're not going to put troops on the ground, you should never say it. She's saying that because she's desperate for votes. All you have to do is look at her poll numbers. And look, if you want weakness, she's weak. I watched her in the airplane over the weekend talking, and I would hate to see 4 more, forgetting about me, I would hate to see 4 more years of those kind of answers.
Well, you mentioned that our leaders now are not calling it what it is. It's funny you say that, because just after all these attacks over the weekend here in this area, the mayor of this city, Mayor Bill de Blasio, he's not calling it terrorism. I've heard over the weekend a lot of people were saying, isn't it terrorism if people are bombing areas of New York City? Isn't that in and of itself the definition of terrorism? But he won't call it that.
Well, it's an incredible thing, and she won't call it that. Hillary Clinton won't. Forget about Obama. You know him. He gave a press conference where he talked about why he will never call it terrorism. I said, he ought to devote more time to go getting these people. But Obama, forget it. Hillary, forget it. You'll never solve the problem if you're afraid to use the real name. This is radical Islamic terrorism. The guy in Minnesota is going around screaming his famous words and knifing people or slashing people, viciously slashing people. And it's just crazy. How they came into the country in the first place is beyond belief. They're here.
Sure.
And I've been saying this is going to be like the Trojan horse. We're letting tens of thousands of people flow into this country, and they're bringing in many cases, this is cancer from within. This is something that's going to be so tough. And, they stay together. So nobody really knows who it is, what's happening. They're plotting. They keep plotting. And this has been going on for so long, and everybody knows it. And the good law enforcement, we have such great people. That's the best thing we have going. And we have great law enforcement.
Right. And
they know about it.
Donald Trump, speaking of great law enforcement, we're looking at members of the ATF and FBI. There's a live raid right now out in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Is it related to the 5 guys who were arrested coming off the Verrazano Bridge last night?
Who were from Elizabeth.
Yeah, right, from Elizabeth, going to the airport. We don't know at this point. Also, just a word for the folks watching at home. Something's the matter with our ticker down below, and that is some old news. We apologize for that. There's something when we first started the interview with you, Mr. Trump, mentioned that we had not heard from you since Saturday night when you came off your plane and said a bomb went off in New York. Nobody knows what's going on. And then you were hit by mainstream media that were attacking you for using bomb before the authorities had confirmed the facts of the attack. And yet Hillary Clinton referred to the bombings in New York and New Jersey, but CNN edited that out. What do you make of that?
Well, CNN is disgusting and they're disgraceful. I watch it all. I watch all of the Fox. And sometimes Fox actually doesn't treat me well also, by the way, but that's okay. You people do. That's all.
We're fair and balanced.
But you're fair and balanced. I agree. But I watch CNN and I look at what's happened. How about Bill Clinton's statement last week where he talked about her sickness, that it said something that happens all the time or something.
Frequently.
That he said, or frequently. And then he said, oh, I meant it only happened. In other words, she gets sick all the time or frequently. And then he goes, oh, I mean, just every once in a while.
Right,
and then they edited it out.
And they took it out. Do you think if that happened to me, do you think they take it out? They not only don't take it out, it feels like they add things. I mean, these people are the most dishonest people. CNN is so disgusting and dishonest, and I watch it. It is so unfair. They call it the Clinton News Network. If you saw her in the back of the plane, and she used the words bombs also, by the way, and that's true. I heard, I didn't see it, but I heard I was criticized for calling it correctly. What I said was exactly correct. I should be a newscaster because I called it before the news. But what I said was exactly correct. And everybody says, while he was right, he called it too soon. Okay, give me a break. But Hillary Clinton used the word bomb shortly thereafter, and nobody said anything about it. And somebody said some of them edited that word out. They took it out.
They did.
I tell you what, hey, folks, it's a rigged system. And I've been saying it for a long time. And the news is as dishonest as anybody there is.
Well,
and why do they care so much if you use the word bombing or not? I mean, we're talking about a terrorist attack, and there are bigger issues here. Like, why is that?
Because the authorities had not officially released that it was a bombing.
Well, that's not really the reason. The reason is because my poll numbers now are so good that they're so worried. They'll do anything they can to stop common sense. I mean, it's common sense, but they'll do anything. Think of it. Hillary Clinton wants to allow hundreds of thousands of these same people that are, you know, they have such hatred and sickness in their heart. It's sickness, but it's sickness and it's hatred. And she wants to allow hundreds of that. She wants more to come in. You know, she's trying to prove that she's more liberal than Bernie Sanders, okay? She wants hundreds of thousands of people to pour into this country, and we have no idea who they are.
All right. And by the way, we're watching this video because above the First American Fried Chicken store, evidently there's apartments, and there's a raid going on right now that might be related to an Elizabeth, New Jersey a bomb that was found and blown up by a bomb robot that lost its arm in that bomb. So they need a new robot, but good news, no one's hurt. I got to ask you, Donald Trump, among the people who got blowback for an interview was Jimmy Fallon. Evidently, he was heavily criticized because he humanized you. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I heard that, and he also got tremendous ratings that night, so he's smarter than all of them put together. I heard that, and Dr. Oz had the highest rated show he's had in years when I released my thing.
Right.
I'm happy for them. You know what? I was happy to do a show. He asked me to do a show. I watched the Emmys last night, and there were so many skits about Trump, and I think it's great. I think it's great. But we had a great time, and he got fantastic. He got really high ratings, Jimmy Fallon. We had just a, I thought it was a very normal, nice show.
That someone does an interview with you that comes out good, and that their career could be hurt?
Well, I'm going to be treated very unfairly during the debate because there's such pressure. You know, Matt Lauer was very fair, and he did a very good job, and everybody said I won that debate, if you call it a debate, the one on NBC last week, the town hall. They said that was the forum.
Yep.
They said that was an event that I won, and Matt Lauer was badly criticized.
He sure was.
And I think, you know, I mean, I'll be honest. I think that system is.
Are you
disgraceful.
thinking this moderator, who's going to be
On Monday,
Yeah.
Hofstra?
It's going to be Lester Holt.
Are you worried that Lester Holt is going to be unfair to you now?
Well, I have I have a set of things that I'll be doing if that's the case.
Sure.
I've always found him to be fair, but the system, as I said, it's a very, very dirty system, and it's a very unfair system. So we'll see what happens. But look, I feel very confident going into the debate. I have much better, solutions to problems. We have plenty of problems. You look at what's going on, but now a new problem comes up, and that's these people that are pouring into our country, and we have to do something about it. We have to stop it.
Okay, and
we have to stop it, and we have to stop it, and we have to stop it now.
And it all relates to terror, you say. ABC News, Mr. Trump, is reporting that the FBI is going to be putting out a wanted poster later today for a 28-year-old suspect in the New York City bombing. ABC News has just learned. Also, one of the things we've learned, one of the things that's going on here in New York City starting today is the UN General Assembly. And we have heard, Mr. Trump, that after Hillary Clinton said last week that she was going to be meeting with the president of Egypt, President al-Sisi, that you're going to be meeting with him as well.
Well, I don't want to comment on who I'm meeting with. I will say with the, with all of the folks being in New York, I've had a lot of calls from a lot of different people on the basis that, I'm doing well, and, they seem to think it's important to maybe meet me, but I don't want to comment specifically on who, but a couple of people are coming over. I've already met with a couple.
Well, you've already met with other world leaders?
I just don't want to comment on specifically who they are.
All right.
Will you eventually?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so, but we will see. It'll be let's put it this way, it'll be a very interesting day or two.
Can I ask you this? When you sat down with these world leaders, did you have to disabuse them of how you've been labeled? Did they have some questions for you? Because there has been international concerns. We just had a senator here from Delaware sitting with Steve, right next to Steve, saying that the world is uneasy about your candidacy.
Well, maybe that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Right now, the world has no respect for our country. They have no respect for our president whatsoever. You see this kind of stuff happening. The world takes advantage of us on trade. They're stealing our jobs. They're moving into Mexico. China's treating us like we're a child, the way they do. You know, they charge tax, but we don't charge tax. You want to do business in China, you have to pay a lot.
Right.
You want to do business here if you're from, the Chinese, no problem. Just come on in, do whatever you want to do. It's a totally unfair and very foolish system.
You know, you only have about a month and a half left in this race. It's hard to believe that. What's your plan going forward? What can we expect in the next few weeks?
Well, we're having big rallies. Today I'm in Florida, and we're having rallies where we're getting 25, 30,000 people this week. I think we have one, if we can, we're trying to get a large stadium as opposed to where we are. We have an 8,000-seat venue in Fort Myers, and we're trying to get an open park or a venue of some kind that will hold 35, 40,000 people because we're being inundated. And look, the word is out. I mean, this has been happening with me almost from the time I went, from June 16th. It's hard to believe, you're right, because we're now talking about such a short period of time. But June 16th is when I announced of last year. And
sprint to the finish.
Here we are with not too much time left.
Let me ask you real quick. We don't have much time left either. Reince Priebus, guy who runs the RNC, said yesterday the former candidates who refused to get on board the Trump train could be looking at some sort of penalties for withholding their support. In particular, John Kasich, probably Ted Cruz, people like that. Mr. Kasich's person came out and said,
Jeb Bush,
we're not going to be bullied by Reince Priebus. Do you think these guys are going to jump on board before it's too late?
Well, I really don't care. That's not up to me. That's up to them. They signed a very, very strong pledge, and they signed it because they wanted me to sign it. You remember that very well. That was a very big deal. Everybody wanted me to sign it because they thought I might run on a different party or whatever, which I don't think would have not happened, okay? But they all wanted me to sign it, and they all signed a pledge. And the pledge says it's no outs. It's no, well, I can change my mind. It says, I will agree to run, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, you could get the best lawyer. You couldn't draw it any stronger. On top of that, they signed another agreement where they have the right to use all of the paper, all of the millions and millions of dollars worth of data from the RNC. Mm-hmm. So that was like consideration. Now, then, there were 3 or 4 of them that didn't honor it. And the reason they didn't honor it is because they got beaten so badly. I mean, I beat Kasich so badly that it was unbelievable. I won 42 states, and he won 1. And, by the way, didn't win it by much. That was Ohio. I'm right now leading in Ohio by a lot. We're getting along great with Rob Portman, who's also doing well. We're working together. We've endorsed each other. We have a great relationship. But Kasich isn't on board. And the only reason he's not on board is that he got beaten so badly. He got beaten as badly as anybody can get beaten. And he stayed in the race, and he kept staying and staying, and he did, he'd go to a race, he'd get practically no votes, and he'd go on to the next one. And by the way, there were many people that did much better than Kasich. The only difference is when they saw they weren't going to win, they got out. Kasich just stayed there forever. So, but I don't mind. If Kasich doesn't endorse me, that's fine. But I will say this. He and Bush and all of these people signed pledges. Ted Cruz, they signed. There are 4 of them, I guess. The rest of them all came aboard. Ben Carson's endorsed me, and he's a big part of our campaign. As you know, we have Chris Christie. We have most of them have endorsed me, and that's great.
Right. But do you believe there should be? Well, Donald, do you think that there should be retribution and they should not be allowed to run again? That was
they signed a contract, Brian, and the contract is so clear. It's so clear. It said, I will endorse the person that wins the primaries, right? And I won. Not only did I win, I got 14 million votes. I got more votes than anybody in the history of the Republican Party. What do you think should happen
to them, though? I mean, I'm just.
Well, I have nothing to do with this. I didn't even know this. First of all, Reince Priebus is doing a very good job, but it shows he's a tough cookie. He doesn't like it when you sign a pledge and then you use their data, of which cost them millions and millions of dollars to assume because of the fact you signed the pledge, and then you violate it. Look, they signed an agreement, and the agreement says, without question, it says, I will, and now they're violating it. And nobody talks about, they say, what wonderful people. Nobody talks about the fact that they violated the pledge.
Mr. Trump, with a politician, with anybody, you're only as good as your word. Is anybody going to trust these guys ever again? I mean, how could they possibly run for president or anything else?
You know what it is? They got beaten so badly, and they didn't expect. I mean, Jeb expected to win. Kasich, I don't know how he expected to win, but I guess he did. but he certainly got very few votes. He'd go to these states, and he'd bomb in every state. But he was stubborn. He said, I'm going to the next one. I remember one of the reporters asked him, well, you did very poorly here. Are you getting out of the race? He goes, no, sir, I'm going to the next. He just stayed in. I mean, so you could say he just stayed in. I don't know why he stayed in, because he had no chance. But what they do is these people all want to run in 4 years, right? If I were the head of the Republican Party, I'd say you can't do it. But, what do I have to do with it? Hey, in the meantime, we're either tied or leading. We're doing very well, and, it'd be nice to have their support, but at this point, I don't really even care about their support, whatever happens there.
Can we get back to what we're seeing right now on the screen? It's the FBI raiding an apartment above the First American Fried Chicken in Elizabeth, New Jersey. This happening after there was an explosion in the middle of the night at the train station in New Jersey, and then we also had some explosions over the weekend at Seaside Park in New Jersey. And we want to talk to you, Mr. Trump, about some of this, because we understand that Governor Cuomo is going to be on with us a little bit later, or soon, I should say.
Right after you.
Yeah, and he is saying that there is a foreign connection.
There may be a foreign connection.
I think there is. I think there is many foreign connections. I think this is one group. Okay, this is one group. But you have many, many groups, because we're allowing these people to come into our country and destroy our country and make it unsafe for people. We're allowing these people to come in. We don't want to do any profiling. If somebody looks like he's got a massive bomb on his back, we won't go up to that person and say, I'm sorry, because if he looks like he comes from that part of the world, we're not allowed to profile. Give me a break.
But Donald Trump, the problem is you do not need to go to Syria or Iraq or anywhere. You can become a militant on the internet by watching some of these so-called charismatic Islamic extremists online, like Al-Awlaki, who is, believe it or not, he's the guy, even 5 years after his death, still radicalizing these people. How do you stop people here who are getting radicalized here?
Well, let's just think about it. So I see the other day, and they're all talking about it so wonderfully, because, it's called freedom of the press, where you buy magazines and they tell you how to make these same bombs that I saw, right? I would, now people go crazy. They'll say, oh, Trump is against freedom of the press. I'm not against. I'm totally in favor of freedom of the press. But how do you allow magazines to be sold? These are magazines that tell you from step one, go to the store and buy such and such, right? Simple stuff. And it's devastating. You look at that with the nails inside. They tell you about the nails, what kind of nails to buy, what kind of, what manufacturer to buy is.
Sure. Same with all the websites.
Wait a minute, they tell you how to make bombs. We should arrest the people to do that, because they're participating in crime. We should arrest them. Instead, they say, oh, no, you can't do anything. That's freedom of expression.
Right. Why do they allow the websites? You can go online and learn how to make these things,
well, the websites are the same thing. Those people should be arrested because they're inciting violence, okay? They're making violence possible. They should be arrested immediately. They have websites that tell how to make bombs, how to make all sorts of things that are totally destructive.
Yeah, right.
And you know where they're coming from, and yet we don't want to touch them because of freedom of speech.
Is there a connection to the explosions in New York and New Jersey to that building that we're looking at right there? There's an FBI raid underway. For the folks who are tuning in, the FBI is going to be putting out a wanted poster very shortly. It features a 28-year-old suspect. And so we're standing by for that. I've got a question for you, though, and we've been talking for the last 20 minutes with Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, yesterday, the mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, would not call it terror. He said it was intentional, it was violent, it was certainly a criminal act, it was a bombing. Would not call it terror. The governor, Cuomo, said it was terrorism. What's up with de Blasio? Clearly, it's terror.
Well, I was with the governor the other day, and he understands the problem, and he's calling it right. I will say that until very recently, Hillary Clinton wouldn't say radical Islamic terror, and I haven't heard her say that, by the way. I've heard her use the term, but she's very loath to say the term. Look, this is radical Islamic terrorism. Right. We have a president that refuses to say it. Nobody understands why. You know, they have thought process, but nobody understands why. We have a president refuse, and then we're supposed to be fighting people, and our leader refuses to say what it is and who it is we're fighting.
You know what's interesting is Governor Cuomo got some blowback because he evidently was talking to you and was nice to you at the 9/11 ceremonies.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Well, he was very nice. We had a great talk, and he was absolutely very nice. So that was, I didn't realize he got blowback. I'm probably not surprised. Hey, look, it's a badge of honor. I'm doing this because we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it strong, and we're going to make it prosperous again. We're not going to let our trade, and you have to see our trade deals. I've been studying trade deals over the weekend. Can you believe this is what I'm doing now? I used to have a good time over the weekend.
Well, the debate's in a wait.
But I've looked at deals. I've looked at trade deals. I actually enjoy doing this stuff. I look at trade deals that are so bad. This NAFTA is a one-way street right out of our country. Our jobs go right out of our country. Our companies, it's a one-way street for our companies and our jobs to get out of here. Nobody comes in. Did you ever hear of NAFTA coming in and bringing jobs? Did you ever hear of, like, NAFTA? A new company is opening in upstate New York because of NAFTA.
They talk
terrible.
about, yeah.
It is a terrible situation.
Yeah, they talk about prices being low because of it. But the Mexico's not happy either, and that's also something that came out of your meeting.
Happy. No, Mexico's happy. The gravy train is going to be ended.
Right.
Mexico is very happy, but they're not happy because the gravy train will end. We're going to have our jobs put, if I get in, because our jobs are coming back to our country.
All right. Mr. Trump, thank you for joining us this morning.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's going to be it's an exciting week, but it's a hair-raising week because of what we're seeing a series of bombs and bombing attempts.
All right. It is 7:30 now here in New York City, and as people go to work, they